Thank you, Janice. Thank you, Anthony and the band. Thank you, Debbie. And for those of you who are joining us online, what you can't see, and maybe even people in this room don't know, is all the other people behind the scenes that are making this happen this morning, who set up chairs, tables. There are wires all over the place here. There's a sound crew working in a different room to make sure that you have the PowerPoint slides and all those kinds of things happening. So it's a community. And some people are seen and some people are not seen. And some people are more visible and some people aren't. And what the important thing is to recognize that together, no matter how you show up or where you're joining us from, we are more as a group than we are as individuals. Well, I've been here since Thursday evening. Ross picked me up at the airport, and I've been staying with Susan. So I just really want to say thank you to the board and the spiritual leadership team for inviting me here this weekend. I've been working them hard. We started Friday night, had about 3 hours on Friday night, about 6 hours on Saturday, and we're not even done yet. So you've got a beautiful, committed, dedicated leadership team that is holding this community in their hearts. Through some pretty, tumultuous times. So I would just really want to recognize those people. Well, I'd like to share some thoughts with you today about holy ground, about sacred space. And we use that term quite a bit, or I do. Perhaps we've even experienced it. Well, sacred space is a kind of interesting concept because, well, we're surrounded by space, aren't we? Since you woke up this morning, you've probably been in several spaces. Your home, your car, your yard. This space that we're in right now. So here's the question. How do we know what is sacred and what is not? And what makes a place sacred? One time, I don't know, mid-90s or so, I got to go to San Francisco to do some business. And on Sunday morning, I went out for a little walk and noticed this amazing cathedral on, of course, the top of a hill, if you've ever been to San Francisco. Everything's on the top of a hill. And so the doors were open. I walked in, and it's like, what is going on here? And there was a labyrinth. It's a cathedral, right? So in that space is a labyrinth embedded in the floor. And the light shining through the stained glass windows, and there's some people standing or walking slowly. I can see in the distance. I thought, what is going on here? And so we went up and read the little sign. It said, take off your shoes, and gave us some instructions. And I thought, this is a sacred space. Joseph and I, my partner, have traveled to India 4 times, each time for about 4 months. And when we were there, we saw and experienced many, many sacred spaces. And some of them we knew about beforehand, some of them we traveled specifically to see, and some we discovered once we were there. So, we'd arrive at a new place and we'd speak to people and talk, and pretty much inevitably, they would tell us with pride what was so special about that particular area. Everywhere we went, there was a holy place. A sacred mountain, a holy river, a special valley. People would share their knowledge with us. This is where Krishna started his journey. This is where Hanuman fought the demons. This is the tree where Buddha attained enlightenment. And it got to be a thing. I wonder how long we'll be in this little town before someone asks us, have we been to the sacred, whatever it was? How special it was, what had happened there, how blessed they were to live so close to this holy spot. We visit many, many of these places, large and small, magnificent structures, temples, temple complexes, natural features, mountain peaks, rocks, and rivers. In Hinduism, it is believed that all rivers come from heaven. So they are a direct line from the spiritual world to the physical world. And touching them is like touching heaven. So, of course, we went to the Ganges River. And it was hard to choose a specific place to view and visit the Ganges because every few miles was a sacred spot. Rishikesh, which is where we ended up going and spending some time, that's where the Ganges first comes out of the mountains and meets the flat plains of India. So that is a sacred spot. 15 miles downriver, another two rivers come and join, and that confluence is a sacred spot. Yes. So just about everywhere on the banks of this river, there are people, sometimes a few, sometimes thousands, because it's the hope and dream of every Hindu to bathe in the Ganges or to at least die close to the river so their ashes can be put in. So when we were in Rishikesh, we were among thousands of pilgrims who had journeyed there from all over India. We walked on the beautiful sand shore among the huge boulders that had tumbled down out of the Himalayas. We could hear the river at night. All day long, the sound of temple bells ringing from the hundreds of temples and shrines up and down the riverbank. We visited the river every day. We did ceremonial bathing there. They don't allow swimming. It's not a recreational spot. It's a holy spot. It's clean, it's cold, it's beautiful, it's fresh. And then every evening we joined thousands of people on the riverbank. I don't know if you've ever seen a documentary or anything where people are placing the little lighted candles in the river, and thousands of these little lights go down every evening. So we didn't have to it wasn't hard to find a sacred spot in India. And what became very evident to us over time was that there's no separation between everyday life and, they don't even call it a religion, and their spiritual life. No separation between the mundane and the sacred. Every person starts their day with prayer, acknowledging God. If you go into a little shop early in the morning, you can smell the incense, and tucked in the little shop between the soap and the rice is a little spot, probably literally this big, with either a little statue or a picture of some aspect of God, and there's some offering, some flowers, probably a little oil light burning, and the smell of incense in the air. The neighborhood that was temple that was across from our homestay, every morning we could hear the temple bells ringing, and if we looked out the window, we would see everyone in the neighborhood coming to the temple. Children with their little school backpacks on, making their offerings and saying their prayers. Businessmen with their briefcases, women with their market baskets. You cannot walk 100 feet without encountering some kind of small shrine. Some aspect of God. It could be, say, Lord Shiva. And then in this little opening, there'll be flowers, a light, incense burning. So one time, it can take a long time to walk around because if you're like me anyway, I want to see it all. I want to say prayers at every one of these. And one time I was walking along and there's a little, this kind of shape, and I can see something inside. And so I go in and I peer in, and Mother Mary and baby Jesus with flowers, candles, incense. Are all of these places sacred ground? Are all of these places holy? We have a great story of holy ground in Exodus. And you're probably familiar with the story. Moses is out wandering around. Actually, this is not when he was wandering around the desert. He was actually a shepherd, and he was living in the desert, and he sees a burning bush, and he approaches the burning bush. And the first thing that happens is he hears the voice of God say, "Come no further, remove your sandals, for the ground on which you stand is holy." So do you think God meant that where Moses was standing was holy ground, and that if he, went a couple feet this way, that wouldn't be holy ground? I don't think so. The ground on which we stand is holy, if we see it that way. There's a beautiful poem by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. It goes like this. Earth's crammed with heaven. Earth is crammed with heaven, and every common bush afire with God. But only he who sees takes off his shoes. The rest sit round and pluck blackberries. Which is not a bad thing. I love blackberries. Okay. And that's the challenge, isn't it? To see every place as and everyday life as holy. Every place that we are in. Earth is crammed with heaven if we look. Millions of people travel all over this planet all the time to sacred spots. You can read about their stories, about the healings that are happening, of miracles, of profound insights. Perhaps you've done this yourself. Lourdes, Uluru Rock in Australia, Stonehenge, Machu Picchu. These places are considered sacred, holy. What makes them so? We do. Perhaps when we are in these places, we open our eyes to the sacred that is all around us, and we allow the mystery to become visible. We take off our sandals, meaning we remove anything that stands between us and God, or us and the divine. Everywhere we stand is holy ground. One of my classmates in ministerial school, after he graduated, well, a couple years later, took the position as senior minister in Unity of Hawaii. And so, of course, I'm sure I wasn't the only one. It's like, hey, can I come visit you? And he said, yeah, come on over. So I went to visit him. And during the Sunday service, they have a recognition of visitors. And I was given this necklace of kukui nuts, also known as candle nuts. And the reason why they give this out is in ancient times in Hawaii, the kukui oil was used to make light. And you could take a little, like the spine of a palm leaf, and stick it in this nut and light it, and it would burn. To wear a kukui ano ano, a kukui seed lei, is to wear light. And a reminder of our inner light, right? Our second unity principle reminds us that as creations of the Creator, that we too are divine. We have bodies, that is part of who we are. We have minds, but we are more than that. We have emotions, we have feelings. That's good. It's not the whole picture. We are much, much more than that. A line from one of my favorite songs called Spirit-Led, Spirit-Fed says, "We are made complete in the divine. Nothing can be added to me. I am made complete in the divine." Would you join me in that? Nothing can be added to me. I am made complete in the divine. We are divine light in physical expression. And so can you see now that wherever we stand, we are standing on holy ground? Wherever we are is sacred. So our challenge, I think my challenge, is to remember that, to treat ourselves and every place as sacred. So I invite you as you enter your week and into your world that you see with eyes that see the sacred, with the intention to express the sacred everywhere you are. We are walking, talking, living, breathing sacred space. Let's prepare now for our time of prayer and meditation.
I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. I am opening. I am We are opening. We are opening.
So let's just take a moment to breathe into that truth. We are holy. Know that for yourself. Say silently to yourself, I am holy. I am light. I am love. I am created perfectly. Nothing is missing. And we know that as human beings, as physical expressions of the divine, that appearances may tell us otherwise. And whenever we get distracted by or caught up in that illusion that that's who we are, we bring ourselves back to the holy and the holiness that we are. And we know from that place, aligned with and one with infinite source, divine mind, anything, everything we need, we can access at that still point. Give thanks for that for a moment. Maybe a smile on your face of that truth within me, within each one of us, is that unified field of one that is the answer to any of my prayers or perceived needs. What a gift that understanding is. What strength that understanding brings to us as we meet life. What power we feel within us as we co-create our lives from this place. We are so grateful. Grateful for the activity, for the presence of Spirit in us, as us, through us, all around us. For this we give thanks. We claim this is so, and so it is. Amen.